Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday, everybody. Hope your day and your week are going well so far. We got NBA Finals Game 4 action on tonight, and I have a massive parlay to share with you guys. But first, as always, people, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. It helps the channel grow, and it means a ton to us. Now, look, guys, there's a very real possibility that tonight could be the last NBA player prop video of the season. So, with that being said, I figured let's go out with a bang. Potentially, again, if the Mavs win tonight, there's a potential I see you guys again next week. But in the event Boston wins tonight and sweeps, this could be it. So, I figure with that being said, let's go ahead and have a massive parlay tonight. I have an 8-leg parlay. Plus 3,778 odds. Are we crazy? Absolutely. But you know what? It's potentially the last video of the NBA season. Let's go ahead and take a big, excuse me for swearing, motherfucking swing for the fences here. 8 legs, 3,778 odds. Let's go for it, guys. Let's dive into today's video. Jump right into the Outlier screen, guys. If you don't know what Outlier is, they're the best sports betting tool on the market. We have a special link down below. In our description, there's a 7-day free trial when you use that special link down below. Guys, NBA season might be done, but there's still plenty to bet on. MLB, and maybe you're betting on the WNBA, who knows? But MLB, there's so much other stuff, and obviously football season around the corner. Outlier, even without the NBA, is still a fantastic sports betting tool. It helps you across all these sports, especially baseball. Baseball is fantastic to use with Outlier. Guys, there's a link down below, 7-day free trial when you use that special link. There's no risk involved for you guys. You try it out, you like it, you keep it, you don't, it costs you nothing. So go ahead and try that out down below. All right, guys, the first leg of our 8-leg parlay. Guys, comment finals. Just comment finals down below if you're watching today. It's kind of sad to think this could be the last time we're doing an NBA video until October. I want to thank everybody who's been watching the video series all year long. You guys have been fantastic, and hopefully we can end the year off with a bang here and cash this absolutely massive parlay. But yeah, comment finals down below if you are watching today with us. Here we go. First leg of our 8-leg parlay. We're going with Jason Tatum over 25.5 points. We are once again using FanDuel here today, guys. I know I've been a DraftKings guy. I normally am a DraftKings guy, but the facts are the facts. Right now, FanDuel is offering better opportunities when it comes to these parlays. So we're going to go with FanDuel here, and we're getting this for minus 192 odds here on FanDuel. Now, look, that is pretty solid here for Jason Tatum, over 25.5 points. He's cashed in 6 of his last 10 games, including in Game 3 at 31 points in Game 3 for Boston. An average of 27.7 points per game over his last 10 games. On the year so far for Tatum, a 54% hit rate. You see so far playoffs and regular season, 49 out of 91 games this year. He has cashed the over. He's averaging 26.55 points per game this season. And look at the head-to-head data here. A 71% hit rate versus the Dallas Mavericks, including in this series so far. You see he's averaging 28.86 points per game over his last 7 games versus the Mavericks, dating back to November of last season. So far this year, he's played them 6 times. He's cashed it in 4 out of 6. Games 1 and 2, he failed to hit the mark, but he did find his rhythm a little bit in Game 3. NBA Finals, I don't think they really care too much about the NBA Finals MVP stuff, but I do think in the back of their head that Finals MVP narrative does matter a little bit to Tatum and Brown. I know it's not going to split them up. I don't believe in all the they battle each other and all that bullshit. The media tries to pin the two against each other. I think they're just happy to win a championship. I think they're going to be happy for whoever wins the Finals MVP. But I do think for Tatum's sake, for his legacy's sake, I think the Finals MVP would definitely help. So I do think he's going to be a little extra motivated to show up, because I do think whichever of those two guys has the better game today probably wins Finals MVP if Boston wins the championship today, of course. So I think Tatum over 25.5 points is a pretty solid bet here. I'm going to be front up and honest with you guys. I don't know what Porzingis is going to happen today. I don't know if he's going to play or not, but I'm going to operate on the assumption he's not going to play, because even if he does play, he's going to be super limited. I don't see him playing a ton of minutes if he does play. So I put a filter here to show you guys what it looks like this year when Tatum plays without Porzingis, and you see and went 100% hit rate versus Dallas without Porzingis, averaging 34 points per game. And so far this year, a 67% hit rate without Porzingis, 22 out of 33 games this year, including playoffs. He has cashed the over. So pretty good line here for Tatum. Keeping it rolling with the second leg of our 8-leg parlay, we're going Kyrie Irving here, over 23.5 points. On our last video, I absolutely nailed this pick. I told you guys Kyrie was due for a big game. He was going to show out, and he had a massive game. We should have actually taken that plus money looking back on it, but it is what it is. We're going to want to take him here over 23.5 points. We're getting that for minus 172 on FanDuel. It is slightly better on DraftKings, but we're going to go ahead and take this on FanDuel for minus 172 here. A 54% hit rate on the year for Kyrie. He's averaging 24.85 points per game this season. You guys can, of course, go a little bit lower if you'd like. But again, kind of like I said last video, I do think Kyrie here is going to step up. In Dallas, I think with the game on the line, the series on the line, I think Kyrie, you saw it in Game 3. I think we'll see it again here in Game 4, another big game for him. Again, he had that really big Game 4 here, 35 points. The data is not fantastic versus Boston. You see just 2 of his last 8 games versus the Celtics as he actually cashed this line. But again, I think he's motivated. I think back against the wall, all the narratives going against him. In Dallas, at home, I think he's going to have a pretty big game here, him and Luka included. And speaking of Luka, I'm taking him for my third leg here. Over 29.5 points, going for minus 205 odds. On DraftKings, you're going on DraftKings. On FanDuel, which we're going with, we're getting for minus 230 odds there. Look, I think Luka, Game 3 was as bad as he's probably looked in terms of a media presence, right? Fouling out in one of the most important games. Now, you could argue he shouldn't have fouled out probably in that situation, to which I'd probably agree with you. As a Celtics, I'm saying that as a Celtics fan, I think him fouling out in that game was kind of ridiculous. But, you bitch at the refs all the time. This is what's going to happen eventually. The refs are going to use it against you. That's the nature of the game. Regardless, I think in Brian Windhorst, I think he did a really good job talking about it. Like, you are the best player on a team that's supposed to win a championship. Control yourself. And I love Luka. I'm a Luka guy. I've always been a Luka guy. My old podcast here I did before I was with Guy Boston, before he even got drafted, I was like, hey, this guy's going to be the best player, one of the best players in the NBA. I've always supported Luka. I always loved Luka. But the reality is the crying at the refs, all that stuff, it's not a good look. Not when you're supposed to be the face of the team, the leader of a potential championship team. I think Luka took it personally. I think he's going to come out here overcharged and ready to go here in Game 4. I think 30 points for Luka in a do-or-die game. I think it's pretty reasonable to say. And the head-to-head data is pretty good. Even in Game 3, where, he fouled out and didn't play a ton of minutes compared to his normal, he still had 27 points. So had he finished the game, he would have cashed the over in Game 3. He's cashed it in 5 of his last 7. He's averaging 32 points per game versus Boston. Look, the Celtics are a great defensive team, but you can only do so much to stop Luka. He's actually been covering this line at a 67% hit rate this year, averaging 32.76 points per game this season. So really solid marks here. I think Luka and Kyrie, those two have to step. They're the only, listen, Dallas, for them right now, they're the only two that have been consistently scoring. They need these two. These are the faces of the team. Remember, they talked about them, before the series, the media talking about them being, this all-time backcourt. We haven't really seen it. I think Game 3 was the closest we've actually seen it so far this series. I do think Dallas is not going to go down fighting. I don't think that they will allow themselves to get swept. If they do get swept, they're going to be swept fighting. I don't think they're going to lay an egg here. I think Luka and Kyrie both have a massive game. I think they started to figure it out in Game 3. I will maintain this. Had Luka not fouled out, I think Dallas wins Game 3 because I think that fourth quarter, they both had something going. Unfortunately, Luka didn't stay in the game. Had he stayed, I think this is a 2-1 series right now going into Game 4 tonight. That's why Luka, I think, got shit on so bad. And I think he deserved to because had he stayed in that game, very real possibility Dallas wins Game 3. So that is the third leg of our 4-leg parlay here. And for our fourth leg, guys, of our 8-leg parlay, we're sticking with Luka, actually. We're going to go with Luka over 8.5 rebounds here for minus 170 or minus 166 odds, on FanDuel here. A 64% hit rate on the year for Luka, averaging 9.31 rebounds per game this season. So really solid data here for Luka. And if you narrow it down, you spread it out across the board, it's really good data here for Luka. And look at the head-to-head data again. 5 of his last 7 games, he's cashed the over. The one time he didn't was in Game 3. He had just 6 rebounds. Again, had he stayed in the game, very real possibility he cashes this over. It gets a little bit closer. But he's averaging 10.57 rebounds per game versus the Boston Celtics. Boston, as a rebounding team, are not fantastic. You see on the year, middle of the road, giving up 43.3 rebounds per game to opposing teams. So they're not the best rebounding team in the league. But really good data for Luka. Again, 64% hit rate on this over on the year. I think he's going to have a really big game. I think he could even have a triple-double tonight. So 8.5 rebounds. We're playing a little safer here, taking him at 8.5, although 9.5, not a terrible bet either. But we'll take him at 8.5 here and play it safe. Especially when we have 8 legs in this parlay. Playing it safe in a couple spots is not a bad strategy. All right, guys, for the 5th leg of our 8-leg parlay here, we're going with Jaylen Brown over 3.5 assists. Now, the data doesn't look fantastic on this line, but so far in this series, it's been pretty good, especially the last 2 games for Jaylen. We're getting this from minus 220 here on FanDuel, which is a pretty high on minus 190 on DraftKings. Some of these lines are better on DraftKings. Full transparency, you can bet both these. All 8 picks are available on DraftKings and on FanDuel, so you can choose whichever one you want. However, I do believe the FanDuel odds are a little bit better than the DraftKings odds when it comes to the final odds of the parlay. But again, you can bet them on both sides. Either way, it's a big money parlay. Either way, and I know I'm betraying my DraftKings here, but I am going to go with FanDuel for this parlay. But Looking at the head-to-head data for Jaylen Brown here, it's really fantastic. He's averaging 4.71 assists per game versus the Dallas Mavericks over his last 7. And just the last 5 meetings, dating back to January of this year, he's cashed the over 4 out of 5 times. Game 1, he only had 2 assists, but in games 2 and game 3, big assist games for Jaylen Brown, 7 and 8 assists in those games. He's been fantastic in this series. If I had to pick right now, I think Jaylen Brown's the Finals MVP, and I think obviously it comes down to this game 4, and potentially if the Celtics lose tonight, what game 5 and so on looks like. But I do think Jaylen Brown right now has been the best player for the Celtics in this series. But he's been doing it all: scoring, rebounding, assisting, everything. Obviously, we know the minutes are high, but the potential assists have been pretty good. The last 2 games, 12 potential assists and 14 potential assists. He had 8 potential assists in game 1. So even though game 1 he didn't cash, the potential assists are there for Jaylen Brown. I know on the year the data is not great, 43% hit rate on the year. He's averaging 3.48 assists per game, so he's right around that mark where we need him to be. But he's been playing so well in this series. His assist numbers have been so high here. He's been taking over. He's been showing that Jaylen Brown has matured into this fantastic player. And so I like this spot here for 3.5 assists. I think it's a pretty good line here for Jaylen. And the Dallas Mavericks defensively, they are bottom 8 in the NBA this year in assists allowed to opposing teams, giving up 27.5 assists per game. All right, guys, our 6th leg of our 8-leg parlay, we're going Jrue Holiday here. Over 5.5 rebounds. We're getting this for minus 140 odds here on FanDuel. Pretty good. And yeah, look, this on the data is definitely better for Jrue Holiday. You see a 52% hit rate on the year, 45 out of 86 games. That includes playoffs. He's cashed the over, averaging 5.52 rebounds per game this year for Boston. In the head-to-head data dating back to last season, 4 of his last 7 games versus Dallas, he has cashed the over, averaging 5.71 rebounds per game. He put up some crazy rebound numbers in game 1 and game 2 of the series. Now in game 3, it dropped a little bit. He only had 4 rebounds in game 3 for Boston after having some really big games. I almost think that was a market correction. I think that the lines were getting really high because of the fact that he was getting so many of these big rebound numbers in the first couple games. I felt like he was due to come down a little bit there. But you look at the rebound chances, they're still pretty high. He still had 11 rebound chances in game 3, just didn't come up with all of them. But the rebound chances have been pretty high, 14, 19, and 11. So the rebound opportunities have been there for Jrue Holiday. I think they'll continue to be there. Dallas, of course, they are a bottom 5 rebounding team in the NBA this season, giving up 45 rebounds per game to opposing teams. Versus point guards, they're about middle of the road, give up 6 rebounds a game to opposing point guards. But again, overall, Dallas, not a great rebounding team overall. To be fair, neither is Boston. But I do think Jrue Holiday here to get 6 boards. He's been doing it pretty consistently. Again, he just missed it in game 3. He had only 4 rebounds, but the chances are there. The opportunities are there. That's the important thing. As long as the opportunities are there for Jrue Holiday to grab boards, there is a chance that this bet hits. For minus 140 odds, I like the spot here for Jrue Holiday. All right, guys, for the final 2 legs of the parlay, going over to the Dallas Mavericks side of things. We're going here with Derek Lively, over 15.5 points plus rebounds. Now, I was 50% right and 50% wrong in my game 3 analysis where I said with Porzingis being out, Dallas's big guys will be able to take full advantage of this. Now, unfortunately, I picked the wrong big guy, and that's the struggle with Dallas this year, specifically post-trade deadline, where it's like you just don't know what Jason Kidd's going to do. What are Lively's minutes going to look like? What are Gafford's minutes going to look like? Daniel Gafford, his minutes are so wildly inconsistent. It's tough to make a bet here, but I'm going to stick with Lively here. He had a really big game in game 3. Even if Porzingis plays tonight, I think he's going to be hobbled. He's not going to play a ton of minutes. Al Horford cannot defensively match up with Derek Lively. He just can't. Not at this point in his career. Not this late in the year with all the minutes he's played and just in these playoffs alone. Not including all the regular season. Al Horford is 38 years old. I love Big Al, but he's getting older. It's a little bit tougher for him to play against a young center like Derek Lively, who's a rookie. Very difficult for him. So I think Lively had a really big game in game 3. I expect Dallas to attack that weakness again in game 4. Again, even if Porzingis plays, he's not going to play a ton. I don't know how effective he'll be. I think Dallas will utilize Lively once again. Again, in game 3, 11 points and 13 rebounds. He was fantastic in game 3. Now, you could say it's a good place to fade him here because of the fact that he had a big game. I think Dallas realizes that he is a big piece for them. I don't know why in games 1 and 2. I know Porzingis kind of made him less lethal, but why games 1 and 2 he wasn't putting up as big of numbers. But again, he had a massive game in game 3. I think going here with 15.5 points plus rebounds, we're getting that for minus 170 on FanDuel here. This is a really good spot. Boston this year versus centers. Again, they've been pretty good defensively overall, but I know the numbers don't really tell the story here because versus size, Boston, especially when Porzingis is out, has struggled a little bit. But again, massive game 3 for Derek Lively. I'm betting on him to have something close. Again, I always say, we don't need him to have this game again, right? That beats this over by 8 points / rebounds. Even if he does a little bit less than what he did in Game 3, as long as he's somewhat close, which I think he will be, we have ourselves a cash. And when you look over the last 10 games, he's actually been pretty solid, averaging 17 points plus rebounds per game over the last 10. A 60% hit rate. Again, the first couple games of the Boston series, the numbers were not there, but the minutes also fluctuate greatly. You see only 18.5 minutes, 19 minutes. He played 30 minutes in Game 3. The way that Jason Kidd's handled these guys with the minutes has been really weird. It's risky when it comes to betting on them, but I do think they know that Lively needs to play here. I think as great as Gafford has been for them at times in this playoff run, Lively is probably the best center on the lineup. On the roster, they need to put Derek Lively in this game. So I like Lively here to play big minutes. All right, guys, and for the eighth and final leg of our massive 8-leg parlay here, we're going PJ Washington under 15.5 points here. We're going to go ahead and get that for -220 here on FanDuel. And look, the data is pretty good here. PJ Washington, who had that great series in round 2, has kind of cooled off a little bit of late for Dallas. And you see here, the under is cashed in 8 of his last 10 games. He's averaging 12.4 points per game. So, I mean, it's still not terrible. But, in this Boston series so far included, only once in Game 2 he had 17 points. But the Celtics defensively have been pretty good. Looking versus power forwards, the second best defensive team in the NBA this year versus power forwards. Overall, we know Boston, top 5 defensive team in the league. Dallas has yet to score 100 points in a game yet this season. If Dallas is going to score, it's going to come from Kyrie. It's going to come from Luka, and I think Derek Lively. Those are the 3 guys I think that Dallas can utilize right now. I don't think PJ Washington's been that successful in this series. I don't think that changes tonight versus the Celtics in a really big Game 4. And so far this year, a 72% hit rate on this under for PJ Washington. This is not a new thing. I know we had that little stretch there versus OKC. You see 29 points, 27 points, and 21 points. He had that 3-game stretch in that second round series versus OKC where you're like, wow, where the hell did Washington come from? And he's had a great playoffs overall, but those 3 games seem to be kind of an outlier because since then, he's still playing decent, but he's not going to cash this 15.5 point line. And again, you look at the last 20 games, 14 of his last 20 games, he has cashed the under here. So averaging 13.8 points per game. Again, you see those 3 games versus OKC were a bit of an outlier there, but a really solid spot here for Washington. All right, guys, so that does it. That is our 8-leg parlay for today's Game 4 NBA Finals. Quick run through. We got Kyrie Irving over 23.5 points, Jaylen Brown over 3.5 assists, Luka Doncic over 29.5 points, Jrue Holiday over 5.5 rebounds, Jason Tatum over 25.5 points, PJ Washington under 15.5 points, Luka Doncic over 8.5 rebounds, and Derek Lively over 15.5 points plus rebounds. Guys, these picks are all available on both FanDuel and on DraftKings. Again, I am rocking with FanDuel here because I do think that they give you the better odds here for this parlay. I think it's better numbers overall. But guys, we're taking a big swing here, and the odds are not in our favor, to be honest. But I have potentially the last video of the season, we got to go ahead and take a big swing for the fences here. And there is no bigger swing we've taken this year. Look, the odds have actually changed. Since I started recording, the odds have changed. It's now plus 4,122, the odds on this parlay. It's fucking massive, guys. Listen, last video of the year, potentially the last video of the year. You know I got to take a full swing. You know we got to take a big risk here. Winning this parlay would be the perfect end to this season. It's obviously the odds are not in our favor. The implied probability for this is probably less than 5%, but that's the parlay game. It's the risk we take. The potential win is so massive, though. Listen, you sprinkle a little bit of money on it, and if it hits, you could potentially win some big bucks. So, guys, that is it for me today. Thank you very much, as always, for watching, guys. And as always, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, and drop a comment down below. Guys, I don't know. This could be the last time I see you guys till October. Again, it all depends on tonight. If the Dallas Mavericks win, I would see you all guys again next week. In the event that this is the last video, real quick, because I know the video is running a little long here, thank you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. This was my first year doing YouTube on Guy Boston Sports. I started last football season in September with Ev doing football videos. And, we're in June now. We're almost entering the 1-year anniversary of me starting on the YouTube channel. But this is my first season doing NBA content, and you guys have been fantastic. When I first started the NBA Player Prop Series, and I'm probably going to do this speech again, if the Mavericks do win tonight, I'll probably end up doing this speech again on, I think Monday would be Game 5, Monday's video. When I started this video series all the way back in October, I wasn't sure what to expect. I was doing, NFL videos with Ev, and the NFL season, I was like, hey, it's coming towards an end. I can't, what am I supposed to do when football ends? Let me get into basketball. I'm a big basketball fan. I love basketball. Maybe I could start doing NBA videos. And Ev, obviously gave me the green light, and shout out to Ev, of course, for doing that and for trusting me for everything, not just the player prop videos, but baseball, football, everything on the channel. I told him, like, hey, I would be interested in doing some basketball stuff on the channel. And, we went from there, and my goal was, hey, can I get 1,000 people a day to watch this? That was what I was hoping for when I first started. I'm like, hey, if I can get 1,000 people a day to watch these, I'll be happy, honestly, because I'm newer to this. Ev's been doing it longer. He's got more of a following, whatever. We are now at the point now where these videos average like 5,000 or 6,000 people a video. Like, I know every time I post one of these, as long as I post it before 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm going to get like 5,000 people watching. And that's an incredible thing. I can't believe that, if you had told me back in October that I'd be having, come June, 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people a day watching my NBA videos, I'd be giddy with joy. And I am to this day still giddy with joy. Not the way that Josh Giddey is. But thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. I really do appreciate it. I've had a lot of fun doing this. I am going to be back next year. This is not a one-year gig. I will be back in October to do another year of NBA player props. I've had a lot of fun doing it. I made a lot of friends with you guys, some enemies along the way too. But I've made you guys some money along the way. We've hit some really big parlays. I've given you some really good player props. I didn't do great with the record keeping with the NBA. MLB, I'm doing better. Next year, I'll do better with the record keeping so I can give you guys an actual tally of how much we've won, how many parlays I've hit, etc. But thank you guys, again, from the bottom of my heart, for everything this year, for supporting, for subscribing, for watching, for liking, for commenting, everything, guys. You guys have been fantastic. Until next time, I hope you're all winners. Maybe we'll see you Monday. Maybe I'll see you in October. Whatever the case may be, I hope you're all winners. Have a good one, guys.